Over the Chinese New Year holidays, BGVP sent their latest hybrid IM called the Feather, and it certainly piqued my interest as it has a faceplate that has feathers that kinda looks like a reverse PP on it. Welcome to the Superchunk Super Audio Show. BGVP is a company that does quite interesting things such as designing a earbud in 2024 that I reviewed, the DX7. And that was one pretty cool IM, especially if you value staging and clarity a lot. It certainly does really well with that. I just like companies that does interesting things such as BGVP. So starting things off with an unboxing, the Feather's packaging is very similar to that of the DX7 as it has a sleeve with motifs of its namesake on it. The back of the sleeves has the usual suite of information that means something on paper. And of course, on the sleeve, you need to have the high-res audio logo on it because with this logo, it just gives you that extra 10% of added sonic performance. Anyways, moving on, you have a window-like box opening experience with an interesting card that says flowers will bloom all the time. I guess this is possible if you are living in a greenhouse or you're in Singapore where I am, where it's just literally summer all year round. You then get a white carrying case that's included, and this is where the earphones are stored in them. Also, you get a separate box containing the cable of the earphones, and it does come with one of those pressure fit interchangeable plug thingies. This time around coming with 3.5mm and 4.4mm. And lastly, you get a box of accessories. What's included inside it is 3 different types of ear tips, one silicone ear tip for vocals, one for bass, and lastly a set of foamies as well. Now the ear tips are of very decent quality, so you can literally start off using the IM with them. It's not one of those e-waste type of things. Build quality. So let's not beat around the bush. The Feather has a rather unique look for a custom universal shape IEM, which is very cool and rare. Custom universal shape IEMs tend to be, well, pretty generic, but hey, not the Feather. The faceplate of the Feather has 7 different types of feathers on it, but I found them to be rather coochie looking rather than feathery looking, which makes it pretty funny and memorable. 7 coochies in your face there and then. 14 if you count both sides, ensuring you that you are really quite the stud and certainly a chick magnet. But in all seriousness, the faceplate is a thing of beauty, featuring one of those two-tone finishes where depending where the light hits, it's either in a royal blue color or turquoise. Certainly very pretty, and the way it just catches light, it's quite amazing actually. The main chassis is black and quite normie looking, but hey, I don't think that I'll be forgetting how the Feather actually looks like because of the amount of coochies they have on the faceplate. It is certainly quite memorable looking. So it also comes in a 2-pin termination for easy cable swaps. The cable provided here is made from silver plated copper that is terminated to 2-pin and another interchangeable jack thingy, while the Feather comes in both 3.5mm and 4.4mm plugs. Build quality of the cable is pretty much what you expect, a braided cable that is quite common these days. Anyways, inside the chassis of the Feather is one dynamic driver that is paired with 4 balanced armatures in a traditional hybrid setup where bass is rendered via the dynamic driver while the 4 balanced armatures sort the rest of the frequency bands out. No exquisite implementations here, but something that is rather rock solid. Sound quality. As mentioned, the Feather employs a traditional hybrid setup in terms of tone, so if you have heard of another hybrid IEM, you can have an expectation of what you will get. The Feather has a V-shaped signature that is well balanced, easy to like, and is very suitable for a wide band of genres. This is one of those IEMs that is very easy to recommend to many people, as it is one of those that has the tone that many people would certainly just enjoy them. What I enjoyed on the Feather is that it has moderately adequate dynamics while the vocals rendered are still very separate and is very clear, placing a nice emphasis on vocals. The Feather works exquisitely with popular music, ACG music, where mainly the focus is on vocals. The way it renders vocals has a lot of finesse and is certainly the best trait of the Feather. Bass. Bass on the Feather is resonant and carries good note weight that will provide you with quite an immersive listening experience. It has just that explosive tonal character that is only available through dynamic drivers. Bass quantity is tastefully considered, certainly more than adequate and not anemic sounding. Both sub-bass and mid-bass is plentiful. There is more sub-bass than mid-bass, but on the whole, you will feel the kick in the drums. Texture is good on the Feather with explosive dynamics. I won't say that the speed of bass is the fastest out there, but it certainly isn't lumbrous either. The resolution here is really good for the asking price of the Feather. It's about $100 US. And next up, mid-range. The beauty of Feather is how it renders female vocals. After all, this earphone pays tribute to the female form with the 7 coochies on each faceplate. Feather renders vocals exquisitely and is the highlight of this IM. For people who love vocals, I think you really need to look no further, especially in this price range. Vocals are delicate yet powerful that can communicate the emotiveness in music amazingly well. Also, vocals are not overly forward, allowing for a more balanced perception of soundstage. Instrument clarity scores highly with the Feather. It is clear and musical and largely cohesive with the other frequency ranges. Treble extension is good, rendered through balanced armatures. It does render this quite effortlessly, but I never found it to be too excessive in terms of quantity. It is very nicely balanced with the rest of the frequency ranges, adding air to the overall sonicascape. It is overall very smooth sounding and very well detailed as well. Next, let's talk about soundstage. Width and height are both pretty stellar considering that these are a pair of IEMs. It just renders them largely for its type of product class. Depth is beyond good from the lovely dynamics. Positioning is also where I found it very interesting. It is great. Vocals are not too forward where it just takes over the whole presence in the sonicascape. It sits slightly in the middle, allowing for the instruments to sound very nicely balanced in terms of positioning as well. Next up, some comparisons. So firstly, versus the 7Hz Sonus. Now, I do prefer the Feather over the Sonus. Both are hybrid designs, although they use quite different amount of drivers, but it's not really the amount of drivers, it's actually how you use them. The Sonus delivers a rather technical experience that ultimately isn't as refined and as enjoyable as the Feather. The Feather is just a bit smoother and has higher resolution compared to the Sonus, but the thing is, the Sonus is quite often discounted now, so well, if it's discounted, you can actually get them for maybe almost half or above half price of what they originally are asking for, which makes them a great choice if you are a bit low on budget. Otherwise, the Feather is technically better. And finally, some ratings. So bass. Bass is basically really resonant and really carries good note weight. It gets a 7.5. Mid-range, it is very present, has smooth vocals, and it isn't too in your face. It gets a 7.5. It also gives positioning of the other instruments very well. Next up, treble, it's airy and has decent extension. It gets a 7, and the overall resolution is a good 7.5. Soundstage, this is basically pretty spacious and wide sounding. For its price class, it gets a 7. It's very well done. And finally, in conclusion, all in all, the Feather is a pair that is not to be missed by vocal lovers. It will remain in my consciousness for quite a while, as I can certainly remember its coochie faceplate that will bring me a chuckle every time I look at it. With that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of the Super Chong Super Audio Show. So if you're watching this episode, I should be in New York. I think it's a Saturday, so if you watch this video and see me on Sunday, do drop by and say hi. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.